Dumba Jumden de Java da Jumba Yandaba Zobe Sanje Rigba da Javsu Demba Devara Sheba Jigden Kemba Jibu Dube Kalo Yorwa Lana Meva Lada Menamje Dumba Sanje Jumden de Pejava Shaja Tuva La Chatse Lo Chudu Javsu Je wo damba jomden de jin sheba ta jomba yanda ban zobe sanje rigba da shabsu temba tewara sheba jigden jemba jebun dewe kalo jorba lana meba lada menam je tumba sanje jomden de pejawa shaja toba la jaze chudo jazo che ho damba jomden de jen sheba ta jomba yanda ba zobe sanje reba da shabzo Dewara sheba jigden chenpa jebo dewe kalo jorwa lana meba lada menam je tumba sanje chumden de pe jawa shaja tuba la chaze lo chudo jaso che ho sanje chudan soje chonama la chanju padu tane jaso che dāgi chūshī jebē tsōnāma je dōla pēnchē sāngyē dōparā shō sāngyē chūdān tsōjē chōnāma alā chāngchū pādō tāne jāngsō che dāgi chūshī jebē tsōnāma je dōla pēnchē sāngyē dōparā shō sāngyē chūdān tsōjē chōnāma alā chāngchū pādō tāne jāngsō che dāgi chūshī jebē tsōnāma je dōla pēnchē sāngyē dōparā shō Good morning to all of you, and I hope you can hear me loud and clear. And I also hope you had a wonderful break. We had 1 month break, but it went in a blink of eye. It's like we started the break yesterday, and then today is over. So that's how time flies. Anyway, we are back on track now, and I wanted to stress this again, that I really appreciate your attending the class. I rejoice in your virtuous endeavor. We know that in this world, how many billions of human beings are on this earth, but out of 7 billion people, a very few have some understanding, some awareness that Dharma is the source of our happiness. Source of happiness for this life, and also a source of happiness for future lives. And among the handful, those who have that awareness, a very few put effort in studying. Then out of that very few, only a fraction of that number try to do meditation. But at least we are among the very few who put effort in understanding, in studying Dharma, and then trying our best to really apply in our life. So there is reason for us to rejoice in that sense. And I clearly understand that Sundays, weekends are really, really precious, especially for those people who are working 5 days a week. So you have only 2 days in a week to run other errands and to rest. You could have done so many other things given that pleasant weather. You could have gone out to have a nice walk, a hike in the, in the jungle. But you chose to be here, to tune into the YouTube. So, since we are going to do that, it is worthwhile to really set our motivation so that our time together can become a Dhamma practice. We all know well that whether an action becomes a virtuous action, a Dhamma practice or not, it all depends on our motivation. Moreover, whether our practice or our action becomes a Mahayana practice or not, it also depends on our motivation, whether we are able to generate the mind of bodhicitta. So before we begin, try to set a good motivation and also pray that by tuning into this, by studying, by putting effort in this understanding of this teaching, that one can actually be able to apply them and bring some transformation within ourselves. That is a major difference between attending other courses and Dhamma courses. So when we tune into Dhamma classes, it is not to really increase our knowledge. We have the primary reason for us is that we are looking for we're looking for solutions or ways to find lasting happiness. Whereas for conventional classes, it's mainly to get a degree so that one can get a better job, which in turn can ascertain a better paying job, thereby earning a better livelihood. But it's completely different. So we must really tune into Dhamma classes with the intention to apply. It is very important to really set your mind that today I will try to understand something and then bring home to practice, to really bring some transformation within us. These are supposed to be tools to tame our wild mind. So as long as we are able to do that, it doesn't really matter whether we understood the whole lecture. So it is important for me to generate good motivation, and I always begin with strong prayers that whatever I am teaching be a benefit to you all in even in a smallest way. So likewise, you also should make strong prayers that you benefit in a sense that it helps to tame our mind, to bring down the afflictions, to increase the virtuous sets of mind. So that's the whole purpose. So having said that, let's dive into where we left in our last semester. So we stopped at this verse, the verse 4, having understood that disturbing conceptions are completely overcome by superior insight endowed with calm abiding. First of all, one should search for calm abiding. This is achieved through the genuine joy of these unattached to worldly life. So here, this is the guide to Bodhisattva's way of life. So Bodhisattva's main goal is to achieve enlightenment. In order to achieve enlightenment, one needs to overcome all the afflictive emotions, all the distorted mindsets. In order to do that, we need to really tackle the root cause, which is ignorant. The ignorant about the reality of things. So that can only be uprooted. That ignorance can only be uprooted by the wisdom realizing emptiness. For that wisdom to be powerful enough to sever that ignorance, one need to have the calm abiding. We need to develop that state of concentration. So that's why it says, by superior insight endowed with calm abiding. Just wisdom realizing emptiness alone cannot tackle the root cause. It needs to be endowed with calm abiding. So for that reason, one needs to first develop the calm abiding. There is a sequence. We need to first develop the calm abiding and then develop the insight. We call it special insight. Wisdom realizing the insight that is developed, that is gained after achieving calm abiding, is called special insight. So we need the union of these two. So now, in order to cultivate or in order to develop calm abiding, it says that this is achieved through the genuine joy of these unattached to worldly lives. So if we are so attached to the worldly life, then there's no way we can develop calm abiding. Without calm abiding, there's no way to develop special insight. Without these two, there's no way to liberate ourselves. So that's the sequence. So from here onwards, Shantideva discusses the flaws or the disadvantages or the faults of attachment. How our attachment to our loved ones, to things, can really hinder our Dhamma practice. How these attachments can, instead of leading us to enlightenment, can drag us into the lower realms. So here it says, in order to develop karma biting, we need to first eliminate the obstacles or the hindrances. So two major hindrances that Shantideva discusses are, first, of course, the attachment and the anger or the hatred. So that's why Shantideva in chapter 6 covers about developing, the importance of developing patience, which is an antidote to anger. So now Shantideva is talking about attachment, how attachment can hinder our hinder the development of karma biting, and thereby create an obstacle to higher realizations. So the reason why there's no essence or no point in being so attached to our loved ones, here it says, Rishi Chigna Zayang Tayang Zawur Jurs. Zao Yang Tishin Taryang Jur. Tishin Kaji Kyang Pamar Jur. Brahma Tini Kyang Tawar Jurs. So basically, there is no certainty that one's loved ones will remain forever our loved ones. Where likewise, there's no guarantee that our enemies can remain our arch enemies forever. Rishi Jingna Tayang Zawur Jurs. So sometime even our arch enemy can become our best friends. One day our best friends can turn out to be our worst enemy. So we see this all the time, especially in American politics. You know what I am talking about. People who have been like the best friends, the person whom rely heavily and then turns out to be your arch enemy. And in our own life, I think we may come up with examples. We normally say, oh, he was such a good friend of mine, and then suddenly he became like that. And some very close friends become kind of middle. So Brahma is like where there's no real emotion. So from their side, indifference. Even those who seems to be a stranger can become our enemies. So that's the reason, the pointlessness. I think this is from the sutra. Buddha is trying to show that it is pointless to be so, what you call the boggled or, so obsessed on to those whom we treat them as our loved ones, and then those who we see as our enemies. So there is no certainty anything can, things can change. So the following stanzas are all about attachment. So first let's look at attachment itself, what it means. So attachment is one of the 6 root afflictions. So affliction in Buddhism is defined as a mental factor that functions to disturb the mind stream of the person in whose continuum it occurs. So this is a very technical definition that you see in classic texts. So basically it says that the definition is that any mental factor, once it arises within us, that destroys our peace of mind, that really creates this unease, discomfort. So these are said to be afflictions. For example, anger. Within anger arises, with the moment the anger arises within us, it really destroys our peace of mind. There is nobody who claims that I'm so happy that I'm angry. People normally say that, oh, spoiled my day because I was angered. So same with attachment, same with jealousy, same with greed. All these afflictions, the moment they arise within us, that destroys our peace of mind. Not only it only destroys the peace of mind at that time, but it has consequences. It has further detrimental consequences. It can lead to further damage. It can lead us to engage in non-virtuous actions that can cause further detrimental consequences. So, how is attachment defined? So, attachment here, this is from Lamrim Chemo. So, noticing a pleasant or attractive external or internal object. So, the object of attachment is external or internal object. External object, we know, the material things. Then internal, your aggregates. And then desiring it. So there's a general definition. And this is, I find this is more explanatory. This is from a research paper. So in psychology, I think that when I was in university, when I looked for this, I wanted to do a correlational study between having this awareness of impermanence and attachment, whether having more awareness of the impermanent nature of things can help to lessen attachment. That's what I wanted to study. So I searched for scientific papers, because when you do research, you cannot simply just write your views. You must cite from a a proper research paper. There were not many at that time. Maybe by now there are more research. But I came several papers. So in one of the paper, they defined the attachment this way: a mental affliction that distorts the cognition of its object by exaggerating its admirable qualities and screening out its disagreeable qualities. So this really describes what attachment is. So here in Lamrim Chama is noticing a pleasant or attractive attractiveness of an object. So it doesn't go into detail what that means. So it does not mean that we are seeing what pleasantness is there, what pleasant quality is there. It doesn't mean that what we see as attractive is actually there. So here, the second one, we distort. When we look at something desirable, we exaggerate its qualities. We see it more admirable than it is. And then we kind of screen out the disagreeableness, the not so nice qualities. So that's the danger. So let's just read this. This is from Geshe Lundum Soba. Attachment which focuses on an outer or inner object and seeing it as attractive, wants to have it, pursues it, and attaches to it. When you are attached to an object, if you do not already have it, you desire it. So there are two types of attachment. One is the attachment that you chase after something that you don't have. So you want to possess that. You want to have it. And if you already possess it, you do not want to separate from it. Meditative dosha, we call it. So whatever you already have it, there's this attachment to it that you don't want to separate it. You don't want to lose it. In general, attachment functions a little different from harsh, explosive afflictions like hatred in that it arises slowly. So the danger when the difference between anger and attachment is that attachment is very difficult to notice. Anger is easily noticeable. When anger arises within us, we can catch it. We know that we are angry. We know that anger has arisen within us. Whereas this attachment, it kind of seeps into it. We don't even notice. And many of the things that we do are because of attachment. Attachment to us, attachment to our loved ones. Even anger arises because of attachment. When we are attached to something, let's say if somebody scratches your car, you get angry because there's this attachment to your car. When somebody says nasty insults, nasty things about your loved ones, you get angry because you have this attachment. So in texts, the analogy for attachment is like a oil, kind of a, let's say, a oil-soaked cloth or paper. When you drop When you pour a drop of oil onto a piece of paper, what happens? It slowly soaks, slowly seeps into the paper, and it is very hard to remove that. Even cloths, other dirts are easy to wash, but oil-stained shirt, cloth, it is very hard to remove. So attachment, even though it is not that glaring, it is not easy to notice, but it is the most detrimental mental factor. It serves as a foundation. It gives the base for many of the afflictions to arise. So that is why it is very important to being aware of the detrimental effect of attachment and then try to reduce that. Many times we mistake or we mix up love with attachment. Obviously, there is a way to love someone without attachment. But it's very difficult for us, for ordinary people, to segregate, to separate these two things. It's not an easy task. Like Bodhisattvas, like Buddha, love us, but without attachment. When something happens to our loved ones, we feel the pain. Whereas something happens to a stranger, we do not feel it. So we have to learn how to love without attachment. So one way to reduce attachment is to contemplate on the faults, the downsides of attachment. Then this will stir us into really reducing our attachment to material things and to our loved ones. So let's see what Shantideva says. So Shantideva divides this topic into two subtopics. Nang Simjen la Chapa Pama. So to develop kind of a non-attachment towards, how to put it, to develop detachment to people, human beings, our loved ones and all that, and then chinyabata kurdila chapapawas, and then the external things, material gains, fame, name, status, we are so attached to all this as well. So there are two subheadings. So first is it talks about the 5 faults, 5 different categories of faults of attachment. So first one is, we won't be able to really achieve anything from being attached to loved ones or material things. So I think some of you may find it a bit difficult because this talks about detaching from our loved ones, and you are like, hey, I want to increase my love. Yes, you can increase your love, but here we're talking about attachment. Attachment is the problem. It's not the love. So we kind of mix this together. We think that our attachment is love, but it is not. So Shantideva, what he's talking about is the attachment. Attachment is the problem. So in terms of Dharma practice, we don't need to go into detail how our attachment to our loved ones can become a hindrance in our Dharma practice. It is like a trap, it is like a net that we wanted to do so many of these Dharma things, but because of your obligations, because of your attachment to your family, because of your obligation to loved ones, you cannot do many of the things that you wanted to do when it comes to Dharma practices. You may want to become a monk. You want to live this lay life, but then you have other obligations. You wanted to go to do a retreat, but then your children needs to be sent to school, sent to these curricular activities, extracurricular activities. So here it says, Tukba namle nyanyenke, tukle tunye, tukle jik. So our loved ones can cause us sorrow, can give us suffering, can cause us fear. That's true, isn't it? The stronger the attachment to anybody, the fear, the worry about something happening to that person arises. Even as a parent, I don't know whether it's true or not. Let's say if you have 3 kids, and if you are more attached to the middle one, let's say, when the middle one is out, you worry more compared to the other 2. So these show that the stronger our attachment to a person is, the greater the anxiety, the fear, the worry about something bad happening to that person rises. Tukpa tane nambang na nyanye meji jikpa mes. So if we are able to really detach ourselves from all this, then it says that there will be no longer sorrow and no longer fear. Anyway, let's just go through the Shantideva's one. Döbe yuda meteba soki nyabas. Meda sushi meda la yanda chakbara cheba yu teni serap tongda du tukba tongwara yongmin yururus. Because of the obsession one transient being has for other transient beings, he will not see his beloved ones again for many thousands of lives. What does that mean? Because of our transcendence, we ourselves are impermanent. We ourselves are transcend. We are fluctuating. We are changing momentarily. And then one who is a transcend being is so obsessed, so attached to another transcend being. Shantideva was saying that, showing that the pointlessness, the silliness, that because both are transcend in nature, placing so much attachment, placing so much reliance on another person, is saying that it is really a pointless, a very silly way of doing it. Because of being a transcend being, so anything could happen. It will not last. And then when something happens to that person, we suffer. People undergo so much grief, prolonged grief, because of losing loved ones. Of course, a certain degree of grief is understandable. But people go into a long period of grief, and eventually that results into depression. And then that leads to suicidal ideation. He will not see his beloved ones again. So that means because of one's attachment to that particular person, one will end up engaging in non-virtuous actions. We do so many things in the name of our loved ones. If one is the breadwinner, when there are difficulties, one engages in all kinds of negative actions just to support their loved ones. We see in movies that, oh, I did for you, I did for my family. So all these actions will result into unfavorable conditions in the future lives. And then one will be undergoing so much pain and suffering that one won't be able to enjoy being with one's loved ones again. Not just one life, for many lives. Let's say if somebody engages in killings of thousands in the name of one's loved one, that karma will result the person being born in low realms and being there for thousands of years. While in that kind of condition, one goes through constant pain and suffering. So that's one of the downsides. Even though our main goal is to achieve that, that intimacy, that spend time with our loved ones, to be able to spend time with loved ones, to be with loved ones all the time. But because of our action, springing from our attachment, will result into something else whereby we will be not able to enjoy or achieve what we desire for. So that's why attachment kind of backfires. Matong nani karmin juice. So these two comes together. Matong nani garmi jur, yi jan nyamjo minjur las. Tongyang ngombar minjuwe, ngarshin sebe tongwa jurs. Not seeing them, I am unhappy, and my mind cannot be settled in equipoise. So when one is so attached to this one, attached to one's loved ones, it says that not seeing them, I'm unhappy. Attachment kind of drives us, this desire to be with that person all the time. And when that doesn't happen, and then our peace of mind is destroyed, we are affected negatively, we are unhappy. And my mind cannot be settled in equipoise. So if you have such a strong attachment, and then if you try to do meditation, it is impossible, because your mind is so disturbed. Your mind is in some kind of a turmoil. There's a lot of things going on. Anxiety is building up. Because of that, all kinds of thoughts arises. So with that kind of mindset, there is no way one can do a proper meditation. Here we are talking about the calm abiding. In order to do any meditation, let alone meditative concentration, one needs to calm our mind. Only when our mind is calm, then we can try to focus our mind on that single object. Even if I see them, there is no satisfaction. Let's say if we are able to see our loved ones, let's say we are able to spend time, but will we be satisfied? Will we be contented? So here's it. Even if see them, there is no satisfaction. This is like you see in the picture, the ocean water, insatiable. The more you have, the more you want. The more you drink the salty water, the thirstier you become. Salty water can never quench, seawater can never quench one's thirst. So that's what Shantideva is trying to tell us, that attachment, the more you have, the greater it will increase, the more you want. One will never feel satiated or contented. And as before, I am tormented by craving. Even though you had chance to meet and spend time, but because there's no contentment, there's no satiation, it is like you haven't had it before. You wanted it more. And that craving torments us. Döbe yönden tani Tagi gawani lenze chutung shindu ngomingyurus. That's what it means. So this is one downside. And then Shantideva goes on to say that not only it is pointless, and there will be no satisfaction. It can also hinder our achieving nirvana. Simjen namla cha chena yanda ni la kuine tip towe simjan jigbar che tamar nyanye tomar jos. Through being attached to living beings, I am completely obscured from the perfect reality. My disillusion with cyclic existence perishes, and in the end, I am tortured by sorrow. So because of our strong attachment to another living beings, it says, I am completely obscured from the perfect reality. We will be unable to see the perfect reality of the phenomena or the things. This goes back to the earlier stanza, that in order to gain insight, the special insight, one needs to achieve calm abiding. So with a strong attachment, there is no way one can achieve calm abiding. Without calm abiding, no special insights. Thereby, one is unable to see the reality, the perfect reality. So attachment creates a blockage, obscures the perfect reality. And because attachment sees qualities in these worldly things, our disillusion of the cyclic existence perishes. Because these two are opposite, in order to achieve nirvana or liberation, one needs to develop renunciation. Renunciation, that state of mind, is kind of antithesis, kind of opposite to seeing the beauty of worldly things. So if one is so strongly attached to worldly things, then it is very difficult to develop renunciation. Renunciation comes or grows from seeing the suffering nature of our existence. So that's why it says that my disillusions with cyclic existence perishes. And eventually, in the end, I am tortured by sorrow. No renunciation, no escape from samsara. When one is trapped in samsara, suffering will have no end. And in the end, I'm tortured by sorrow. So that's another fault Shantideva points out here. Tela semba bashi ki sedi tome dawar jurus. So these two lines talks about kind of, by doing all this, we are wasting our precious human being. We had the opportunity to really pursue something meaningful, but because we are so attached to worldly things, to our loved ones or material things, we kind of blew away that opportunity, that once in a lifetime opportunity By thinking only of them, this life will pass without any meaning. Because we are so engrossed, so attached to our loved ones, we end up doing things for them, which are mostly worldly things. And we have only 24 hours in one day. So if you spend so much of that time fulfilling the desires of this attachment, then there's no time left to do any spiritual practice, anything in this sense meaningful. There's no time to do anything meaningful. And by, time passes. And when you realize it's too late, you are already on your deathbed. So Shantita was saying that if you are serious about doing some real Dharma practice, then one should start with developing non-attachment or detachment towards all these things. It's not easy. Takpa mebe zashi ki yungdung chö yang jigbar jorus. So the subsequent line points out that not only it destroys the most important, meaningful pursuit of our life, it also drag us into the lower realms. Taba mebe zashi ji yungdung chö yang jigbar jur. Furthermore, impermanent friends and relatives will even destroy the Dharma, which leads to permanent liberation. So here the phrase is very beautifully done. First it says that impermanent friends and relatives. Relatives and friends are impermanent in nature. They can fluctuate, they can change, they can become your enemies. A friend in the morning can become enemies in the evening. So they are, in that sense, impermanent. And will even destroy the Dharma. Here the word is used as yungdung. Yungdung normally represents the indestructibility, permanent kind of thing. So he said, further impermanent friends and relatives, our attachment to these impermanent friends and relatives can destroy achieving that liberation which is permanent. Permanent in a sense that once you achieve liberation, so you are free from samsara. So this is all about reducing our attachment to our loved ones, to material things. Here, at the moment, it's more of our loved ones, because that is the one that really hold us in samsara, because of our attachment to loved ones. We accumulate a lot of negative karma, non-virtues. So, if I build, okay, let me read the Tibetan. Chi dan keba nyam chö na, nyebar nyendro. Wangi ne nyemi ma tongwe tela choshin yi chö. Okay. Chi dan kewa nyam jo na nyabara nyandur dojur des. Kemi nyambara chi che na chiba tembe chi shik chas. So now so we have talked about our attachment to our loved ones. From here onwards, Shantideva talks about associating or spending time with other ordinary people. So our association with here is characterized as childish. So ordinary people. So our association, we are wasting, basically saying that we should not associate, we should not indulge our time associating with ordinary people, because that can also be a hindrance to achieving calm abiding. If I believe in the same way as the childish, I shall certainly proceed to lower realms. And if I am led there by those unequal to the noble ones, what is the use of entrusting myself to the childish? So there's another version of the translation. I think it's clearer. It says, for if they act like childish beings, sure it is that I shall fall to evil destitute. So why do I keep company with infants who leads me to a state so far from virtue? So here in Dharma texts, you will come across this term, the childish. So normally childish is referred to ordinary people who have not gained direct insight into emptiness. So Arya beings are the opposite of that. We normally call Pakwa and Soge. So Sosokeo is ordinary being or childlike. So those are the ones who have not achieved the direct insight or direct perception into emptiness. So those are considered childish. So Chidan Keba Nyamjuna, if I believe in the same way as the translation is not, I think, exactly as the Tibetan one. So here in the Tibetan, Chidan Keba Nyamjuna, the Keba Nyamjuna. So it's like the way, if we behave in the same way as those other ordinary people, this can also refer to what we call the non-virtuous friend. Those friends who encourages us into doing opposite to what is Dharma. What is opposite to what is Dharma practice? Opposite to Dharma practice. Those who discourages us in doing Dharma practice, doing virtuous actions. So those people, in one of the one of the great Lama, Gongdang Rinpoche, he defines that non-virtuous friend. He says that the non-virtuous friends won't appear with horns and those what do you call that? What do you call that? Those fangs. The non-virtuous friends will not appear with horns and fangs, but they appear as your best friends. They will speak to you in a very nice way, but the end game is to lure you away from Dharma practices. Those are what is called your non-virtuous friends. So here, this is basically, if we behave in the same way, the way these non-virtuous friends think, or the way they conduct their behavior, then I shall certainly proceed to the lower realms. Because what they think, what they do is all negative, all non-virtue. So as a result, I will certainly proceed to lower realms. And if I am led there by those unequal to the noble ones, so here, Kemi Nyambar Tichena, what is the use of entrusting myself to charity? Since they are leading me against the contact and the behavior, the way the noble ones think, if they lead me in doing something contrary to what noble ones would do, then what is the use of entrusting myself to these people? What is the use of associating myself with all these people? So basically distance ourselves from other people who can kind of influence us. So these are advices for people like us who are at the beginner's level. Once you reach certain level, of course, nothing can impact you, nothing can influence you. But at the moment, we are quite fragile in our Dharma practices. We have not really formed a stable ground. We are not well grounded. When we are not well grounded, and if we associate too long, too much, too frequently with these non-virtuous friends, then there is a danger that we will be lured into doing something negative and even completely, dragged out of Dharma practices. I think we know of some people that who first come to Dharma centers, they are very enthusiastic about it, and slowly they meet somebody else, and then their interests are not really into Dharma, they are more of a worldly things, and then they become kind of a, off track, I don't know what is the right word. But you go off track. Your interests in Dharma is somehow now diverted towards otherworldly things. So that is why it is very, very important to have Dharma friends. Your circle of people need to be those who are into Dharma. If you are surrounded by people who are so much into worldly things, making money, gaining fame, status, then if you are not well grounded in your Dharma practice, you can be influenced by them, and slowly the spiritual way of thinking will be replaced or can be replaced by these worldly attitudes. So it is very, very important to be circled or to be surrounded, to associate with Dharma friends, not ordinary people, ordinary friends who have who does not align their interest in Dharma. So that's a takeaway from this. So it's already 11:11, so we can stop here and we will pick up in the next class. So I hope we have, from the few stanzas that we have covered today, you find something to take home and then apply and practice during the coming days. There must be something that you can apply, isn't it? There must be something you can try. Even though I may not have explained well, but you may find something when you read again and think about it. And try to use at least something from this. And then it serves the purpose of your tuning into today's class. All the best. Thank you. Let's do the dedication. Dagi jinye zawe nyawa de tendan zhowa kunla kangben dan kebara chizun losan tangbayi tenbe nyingbo ringdo seje sho jambe bawe jedara jamba da kundo zambo tenyang deshen do teda kunge jesu talo je Gyawa deda damje rabdu ngo dusung shekbe gyawa tamje je ngowa kanla chodo ngaba de tagi gewe zawa digunja zambu jeje rabdu ngowa rangi. Okay, thank you.